Hey there, smart wrestling fans from across the galaxy. A couple of people were asking for Chikara reviews, so you're getting one. Live with it. I thought a useful jumping on point for Chikara would be their latest season, which started this year, so I'm starting at show 1 of season 11. Um, Trying to give you a brief overview of the show, and I gotta say that I got this show from SmartMark Video's direct digital download service. I'll put a link somewhere down here so that you can see for yourself. But basically, you can now get the Chikara shows that SmartMark Video records directly from them via a digital download that they send to your email address. They send you a link. You can download the show. It's in perfect DVD quality. There is no messing around waiting for a DVD. It's a really great way of getting a Chikara show, and it costs you $10 less than if you buy the DVD. It's great. The Before the show starts off, we have a little pre-show where Ultra Mantis Black and Hala Wicked have tracked down Delirious's lair, which is like an abandoned railway tunnel, which looks pretty cool actually. And Ultra Mantis, like he promised, gives the Eye of Tyr back to Delirious. Delirious runs off, smashes the Eye of Tyr into about 1,000 pieces with a big rock, and runs off screaming into the night that he remembers everything. And that's about the first coherent statement that we've had from Delirious, seeing as he's been controlled by both Ultramantis Black and Ares as through this Eye of Tyr artifact. So the first actual show, we start in eastern Pennsylvania, and Gavin Loudspeaker comes out and sings his little happy Chikara song. And if you can't cope with the fact that the ring announcer will actually come out and sing a song to liven up the fans at the start of a show, you are not going to be able to cope with some of Chikara's more wacky aspects. So this is a complete heads up moment for you. It's a really packed house, so I'm really happy to see that lots of people are coming out to see Chikara in the flesh as well. First match, Mike Quackenbush versus Green Ant. There were two previously unscheduled matches between the two of them, but now they've gone and scheduled a match, and this is a real wrestling clinic. It is wrestling hold for wrestling hold, it is wrestling counter for wrestling counter. It's a really good match that shows the lucha libre and British, or sometimes it's referred to world of sport or Lancastrian style wrestling, that Chikara is championing. Within this match, which is longer than 10 minutes, there are a total of less than 10 strikes in total. So it's just a complete wrestling show, and I really enjoyed it. I can't praise this match highly enough. It's the kind of match that I really like. The commentators suffer a little bit because they can't always see what's going on because it's such a mat-based wrestling match. But it's certainly worth trying to track down some of the podcaster go-go's or other videos that Chikara have done, because I think they've highlighted that match a couple of times. In the end, Green Ant manages to lock in his version of the Chikara Special Green Edition in on Mike Quackenbush, and Quackenbush cannot escape, so he taps out. That's a pretty big chalk mark up for Green Ant, and really establishes that hold, which has already beaten Tursus, as a go-to finishing maneuver for Green Ant. I was really impressed by this match. Next up, we have an in-ring promo. Dasher Hatfield comes out and he says that he debuted here and Sugar Duncton debuted here. That's the other member of the Throwbacks. And now the newest member of the Throwbacks, Mr. Touchdown, who was previewed briefly at the iPay-per-view, is going to make his debut as well. And Mr. Touchdown kicks his way through one of those paper banners that they have at high school football, and he comes out and he is dressed up like a proper football player. He's brash, obnoxious, jock type quarterback. He grabs the mic, and the first words out of his mouth are, "What's up, nerds?" It's a fantastic piece of characterization. He calls himself about 8 million different catchphrases, the interception of perfection, which I really liked. He tells everybody that he's not here to talk, but now that Mr. Touchdown has arrived, it's good. And within about 60 seconds, Mr. Touchdown showed more personality than either member of Ring of Honor's Future Shock have ever done. One of the things that Chikara consistently gets right more often than it gets wrong is establishing their characters really well. So our second match is Kobold versus Jigsaw. This match starts off with a lot of Kobold keeping away from Jigsaw and trying to frustrate him. And a lot of Kobold's offense is sort of this comedy, malicious kind of offense, which very much reminds me of the evil version of Doink. But Kobold isn't really big enough to feel like he's a threat when he's doing it. He has this big earring inside his mask, and he takes it off and uses it to gouge at Jigsaw's mask, which is a nice little touch. But it's hard to take his offense really seriously when he doesn't have the backup of the two heavy hitters of the Batiri with him. But he sort of holds his own. He's using a lot of cheap tactics and, like I said, a foreign object. Jigsaw turns the tables with this springboard, a leapfrog into a double stomp, and it looks really good. Eventually, Jigsaw hits a slingshot power bomb and then hits a grounded super kick and picks up the win. Pretty decent match, and it showed off a lot of Kobold's offense, but I'm of the opinion that he's not really. That offense doesn't look very threatening when he's a single person. I think he needs some more backup to be a legitimate singles threat. Third match in is Icarus versus Gran Akuma. Gran Akuma is, of course, on the warpath because Icarus kicked him out of Fist. Gran Akuma comes in some swanky new ring gear, which looks pretty awesome. Akuma brings out his normal strike-heavy offense, and it looks pretty good again. Icarus is great at getting heat from the Chikara crowd. They chant, "Please retire" at him. He's just a one-man heat machine, basically. Really nice kamikaze roll by Akuma. Icarus bails. He grabs a chair. He basically stalls just so that he can get the count out. And Akuma is stalking him to the back when, from the back, Greg Irons comes out. And now Icarus is trapped between two people who both want to beat him up because Icarus was acting like a complete jerk to Greg Irons last year, and Akuma wants revenge on Icarus as well. Icarus slips past Irons and shoves Irons into Akuma, and Irons takes that opportunity to slap Akuma because Irons has been on the Irons was on the end of Akuma's attack on Icarus when Akuma missed Icarus and hit Irons by mistake in a previous show. So it set up this angle where Akuma is now going to have to go through a series of challenges to prove his worth to fight Icarus. This match was very quick. I'm not really going to give it a rating. It was mostly setting up this angle of the relationships between Icarus and Akuma and Irons. We go backstage for a promo from the BDK, which at the moment consists of Tim Donst and Jakob Hammermeyer. And Donst is claiming that the BDK is going to be better than ever with him in charge. And Hammermeyer's going, yes, and once Aries gets back, it's going to be even better. And Tim Donst beats down Hammermeyer like a complete dog. He says, don't say Aries' name ever again. Get out there and win, or I'm going to beat you up, because the last person to lose to Donst in this arena was Hydra, who was then forced to retire. The match turns into the BDK of Tim Donst and Jakob Heimermeier versus 3.0 of Jagged and Shane Matthews. Shane Matthews claims that he has had an unprecedented 6 Red Bulls to get ready for this match. Hammermeyer plays this wonderfully weaselly, subservient character, and Tim Donst pushes him around. It's a really nice little dynamic for that team. Shades of Buff Bagwell from Jagged for no readily apparent reason, and he even pulls off a cartwheel as well, because why not? Jagged becomes your face in peril, and 3.0 being the Canadians and hockey fans, the crowd start a defense chant for him, which is always good for a laugh. Donst is really good at wrestling like a jerk. He comes in and he gives people the purple nurple. He is a complete ass in the ring, and it's really good. Eventually, 3.0 isolate Hammermeyer. They give him the step-up elbow drop, the knee charge, and the sweet taste of professionalism, and that is the 3 count. This match really established the relationships within the BDK team, more than focusing on 3.0. But it's a pretty good match all the same, and at the end, Donst pulls Jacob Hammermeyer out and starts berating him about how dare you lose. So, pretty good match. Next up, we have Hallowicked versus Archibald Peck, being accompanied to the match by with Veronica, his valet. Veronica is not pleased with Peck at the moment because Peck is on a losing streak. When Peck gets into the ring with Hallowicked, he's suddenly completely freaked out by Hallowicked. Peck tries to use the stem on Hallowicked's mask to drag him around. Hallowicked retaliates by pulling at Peck's bald spot. Archibald Peck is one of my favourite comedic wrestlers at the moment. He's really good at expressing his emotions with his physical actions and his facial expressions. He's not afraid to sit in the middle of the ring and pout like a baby. It's great for establishing what a complete idiot this character is. Big dive to the outside by Hallowicked, but as he's getting back in, Veronica stops him. That allows Peck to take control for a while. Peck is about to deliver his finisher, but he stops to argue with Veronica, who's mad at him because he's not hitting his finisher fast enough, and he gets crotched on the ropes because he took too long setting it up. Eventually, Peck gets a victory roll, but Hallowicked reverses it and picks up the win. Again, this match was pretty good. I very much enjoyed it. I really like Peck's wacky antics and his style in the ring, and I actually think Hallowicked is one of the most underrated wrestlers in the Chikara roster. I think that if he wasn't running such an outlandish gimmick, he would be picking up a lot of bookings outside of Chikara. He's definitely underlooked because I think he's pretty good. At the end of the match, Veronica storms off in a huff because Peck is losing still. We then go backstage again to a promo. This is Ophidian, who turned to get his back on Amasis at the IA pay-per-view. So now he says he's after the last member of the Assyrian portal, Hyricon, and he talks about going on a path of redemption because he lost his path, and he says that he wants to destroy Hyricon and make him submit. To the match itself, Ophidian comes out. He's got some new ring gear in, which is sort of reminiscent of Mortal Kombat a little bit. This match starts off at a pretty nice, strong, fast pace, but then it goes into a forearm exchange. And Ophidian's trying out a lot of new offensive maneuvers for this match to try and establish his new character. And I'm not sure all of them work. He's using a lot of claw holds and nerve holds, which are okay, but I tend to like that offense better from a big, strong guy. Somebody like Lord Tensai putting you into a claw hold works for me. Ophidian is, with all due respect, a skinny white dude that I am about the size of. I don't buy that as an offensive maneuver for a skinny white guy. Sorry. This match occasionally loses its way, but then they hit a big spine buster, and that shuts me right up. Ophidian carries out his plan. He's trying to demask Hyricon. There's a big tope by Hyricon, and it spills outside. On his way back in, Ophidian hits this backdrop from the ring apron to the floor. That looked really sick. And then there's some drama whether or not Hyricon will beat the count back in. And I understand why that happened, and it was pretty dramatic, but it didn't really fit with the psychology of the match, because Ophidian said he wanted to unmask Hyricon. So there's a stage in the count where Ophidian's in the ring waiting for Hyricon to get back in, when he should run out and throw him back into the ring so that he can unmask him, because he hates that guy. So I think that was a slight misstep in the psychology there. Ophidian tries for the death grip, but Hyricon fights out. We go into a forearm exchange. Again, that leads into the death grip for a second time. Hyricon hits a chin breaker and then an ace crusher to counter out of that. That looked really nice. 450 by Hyricon. Ophidian gets the knees up. That's a 2 count. 450 for the second time. That only gets a 2 count. They go back to the forearm exchanges again. And at this point, I am really bored of forearm exchanges. Forearm exchanges work when there's two heavyweights unloading the heavy artillery. And it works as a sort of escalation thing. But they've done that forearm exchange thing 3 times now, and it's getting a bit dull. Especially when you're not big guys really, really slugging it out. I don't think that really helped. The crowd is getting a bit bored of this match. They are chanting for Ultramantis Black, who's not in the match. However, the wrestlers go to the end. Ophidian hits the Egyptian Destroyer. He only gets a 2 count, but that's because he had a really lackadaisical pin. Ophidian hits the death grip for the 3rd time and spins it into a sort of cattle mutilation version of the death grip. And that is it for Hyricon. He's out. Ophidian demasks Hyricon, and that is the end of the Assyrian portal. Ophidian is going to be wrestling as a single star from now on. Like I said, this match is my least favourite of the card. It could easily have been cut by 5 minutes, and it probably could have been cut by 10 minutes. I understand why that match was long, and they wanted to give the Assyrian portal a proper finish, and they wanted to send off Hyricon looking good, but I think this match really could have done with some trimming. Like I said, I think this is the weakest match on the card, just because of its length. If they cut it down and kept it fast paced, it would have been a lot better. The final match will be the Colony versus the Battery, and Gavin Loudspeaker is out to do his normal hullabaloo for the main event, but he's jumped by Vin Gerard, and this degenerates into a pull apart with Eddie Kingston on one side and Vin Gerard on the other side, and the locker room clears to separate them. Gerard puts his hands up and says, I'm leaving, and then, like the jackass that he is, cold clocks one of the trainees. What an ass. Gerard tries to escape. Kingston gives chase, but by the time he's caught up, Gerard is out of the building. Kingston finds the director of fun, Wink Vavasaur, who's always his ineffectual self. And yeah, he demands that Vavasaur reinstate Gerard so that Eddie Kingston can fight him. And Kingston drags him into the ring, and he's about to get physical with Vavasaur when Jigsaw comes in to calm Kingston down. But the whole crowd is chanting for Gerard to be reinstated, which is what you want to see, because you want to see the face beat up this slimy little heel who's acting like a jerk. Makes sense. We finally get to our main event of the Colony of Fire Ant and Soldier Ant versus the Patiri of Kudama and Obarian. One of the fans gives the ants a box of sugar as a souvenir, and the ants, being the happy, smiley people that they are, put it on the line. So this tag match is not just for the ever-elusive tag team points, it is also for a bag of sugar. Tension is rising. Starts out with Fire Ant versus Obarian, but the heels cheat to turn things into their favour. They have a nice exchange between Fire Ant and Obarian. Soldier Ant and Obarian work the saluting gimmick where Soldier Ant counters all the moves with salutes, which is always good for a nice sequence. Several double teams by the Colony, and they look to be in control. But then the Batiri use their version of twin magic on the Colony. And Soldier Ant ends up in trouble. A second reference to Buff Bagwell as we get a seated blockbuster by Kodama. Hot tag then to Fire Ant. Big crossbody onto both of the Batiri, and Soldier Ant is on fire. However, the Batiri have enough of this. They drag Fire Ant to the outside, bash him with a chair, and basically take Fire Ant out of the match for quite a long time. Soldier Ant is then fighting them alone, and the Batiri get in a lot of cheap heel offense, and they're really good at antagonizing the crowd. The crowd really get into it. One of the little kids in the audience is like trying to get involved, and he's got a Superman shirt on and an ant mask on, and the whole crowd are chanting for Super Ant. So it's really nice to see that the Chikara crowd always knows something smart that will add to a match to chant. They're really a crowd that gets the Chikara product and really adds to the show. The Batiri hit their drop kick, drop toe hold into a knee smash, which is one of my favorite moves of theirs. And then they try for Soldier Ant tries for the Chikara special, but it's really easy for the Batiri to break it up. They try for Obarian's flying DDT, but it's a bit of a mess. Fire Ant then breaks that one up. Fire Ant is in, and he eventually hits the beach break, and that is the 3. I quite like that match. It was a nice little main event. It was really good with the crowd interaction, and it had a lot of sort of tension. My only problem was that for the amount of offense that the Batiri got, it sort of felt like they should have won. They really worked over Soldier Ant for quite a long time without him having any backup, and it sort of ended up with me sort of going, well, if they haven't put him away, their offense isn't very effective, rather than going, Soldier Ant is really tough. So, overall, as a season start, it's a really useful place to start your Chikara fandom. If you want to try Chikara, I'd very much recommend that program. It's not completely perfect. There are some matches that I felt weren't all that good. Like I said, the Ophidian Hyricon one was just a long, long match. But there's certainly some good stuff there. There's certainly a good selection of the kind of product that Chikara offers, from serious wrestling to more light-hearted stuff to zany wackiness. Um, you will do a lot worse with your money than spending $10 on this. So have a look back down there and have a look at the direct download. And I'll also send up a link to the Chikara special blog, which goes through this show in much more detail than I can in this amount of time. So, overall, Chikara's 13th Hat gets a pretty good recommendation for me. It's a really nice way to start your journey into Chikara fandom. Thanks very much.